Good evening, everyone, and a big welcome to all of you here tonight. I know a lot of people are still joining as we speak, but I'm just going to get going in the interim. So my name is Stefan, and tonight we're really here to discuss BlackBrick Gardens. We're about 1 week away from the launch of the final phase, the final release of BlackBrick Gardens, stock that hasn't been released before, and really coinciding with the whole Hick vision for gardens coming together and the completion of the building. And I've got a really great panel here tonight. We've got the architect, we've got a key stakeholder within the Hick vision, we've got the developer, and we've got someone who'll give you a hell of a lot of insight into the sales process come next week. And with these things, it's really about us being able to ask as many questions as possible, answer questions you guys have, go through the process, and really just give you unique insights into the product and giving you all the information you need prior to the purchasing process. So I'm going to introduce the panel, and then I'm just going to get into the discussion. But I think a big welcome, first and foremost, to Jonathan Liebmann, who's the co-founder and CEO of BlackBrick Global. How's it, Jonathan?
How's it, Steph?
Andrew Makin, who's the director of system architecture and the visionaries behind basically all the BlackBrick products. I know Andrew's based in Mexico, and always awesome to have you.
Thanks, Steph. Hello, everyone.
Sam Lambson, who's the founder of Minimalist Wines. For those of you who don't know, and Sam will go into it, an urban winery who opened about 6 weeks ago in Hick Street. And I think we'll go into that in a second in terms of just what that vision is and how it's really taken that entire area to a whole different level, and just exploring a bit more and what that means from an investing perspective. But how's it, Sam?
Hey, Steph. Great to be here. Thanks very much for having me.
And then Andrew Paterson from Rainmaker Marketing. How's it, Andrew?
How's it, everyone?
And yeah, I think just for purposes of clarity, I'm going to refer to Andrew as AP and Andrew Makin as Andrew. But yeah, I think Andrew will be able to go through the process, the online marketplace, how you'll be able to purchase next week on the 5th. Everything will be done online. And yeah, we really encourage all of you to ask any questions, anything to know, levies, purchase process, the area, growth. Hopefully we can answer as much of as possible, and I'll just direct the questions according to who's best suited to answer it. So, Jonathan, I mean, we're going to, in a sec, just touch on the BlackBrick vision to date. But I think first and foremost, to take a step back, I mean, you guys have established in many different regions in the country. Cape Town's obviously a no-brainer from a property development perspective, just because there's such massive appetite. But why Cape Town for you guys at this stage, and why Gardens specifically?
So just to take you on like a quick journey of the BlackBrick network, we started in Sandton in 2018, and that building went on sale then, and then opened right in the middle of COVID during 2020. So that was quite a baptism of fire as we opened the doors. And then quickly after that, we secured our first site in Cape Town, which is our other Cape Town site in the foreshore on the corner of Riebeck and St. George's. And we launched that to the market in 2021, and we did very well there. That sold nicely. But we always knew that we would find another Cape Town site soon after, because that area caters to a specific kind of business market that's close to the convention center, but we wanted something more so on the other side of the city that was closer to key lifestyle elements like Table Mountain and the beach. So after securing sites 3, which was another one in Sandton, Bedford View, the 4th one, it made sense to come back to Cape Town and do our 5th BlackBrick project there. So we got a hold of the site in 2022 and went into like a deep planning phase with Andrew Makin and his team in really trying to redefine the BlackBrick model. So we had built the first 4 using a certain kind of design philosophy, which was largely driven by our internal team at BlackBrick, without really, without the use of an architectural firm. And Moritz, who's my co-founder, and myself went to Mexico City, where Andrew Makin lives, in 2021, also in the middle of COVID. Met with him and decided to conceptualize almost like an evolved version of the BlackBrick concept. And that the proof of concept of that new model is BlackBrick Gardens. So it's a very, very important project for us. This isn't just another building. This is by far the most important building that BlackBrick has done to date. What we build here and the principles that have gone into this building are going to apply to all the future BlackBrick buildings, including Umhlanga, which we've spoken to you about before, but also on international projects. We're looking at stuff together with Andrew and his team in Mexico City. We've got some partners on the ground in Atlanta. We'll be looking for a new location there. But all of it is going to be inspired by, or what will set the example will be BlackBrick Gardens. That is where we are really redefining this new model, what we call the global edition. So it's a super exciting project for us.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, and then just seeing how much time has gone into it and how much, yeah, I mean, the level of detail, I mean, we'll go into in a second, but I mean, we spoke before, only 25 units. The interest has been off the charts, and the campaign started towards the end of December, and I mean, Andrew will talk about the leads, and we're expecting to sell everything on come next Wednesday. But what makes these last 25 so significant for you guys?
So there's 93 apartments in the building. 88 of them are our typical one-bedroom format, which has what we call a voorstoep at the front and an achterstoep at the back with double-sided natural light that Andrew Makin will describe further later, and then 5 two-bedroom units. Of those 93, 25 are left, and we actually held them back, so they weren't for sale, since the original launch, because the view that I took was that we had come into the area very early on when we did the original launch, and there was a lot of risk. We were the first development to come out the ground on Rudderheck Street. And since then, a whole bunch of other really conscious developers have come into the street. And as a collective, we're really starting to drive the transformation of that street. In addition to that, we, together with a bunch of other owners in the broader Lower Gardens area, we've initiated a central improvement district, which has now been voted in successfully. So the future of the area, what was once a dream that had a lot of risk inside it at our original launch, is now a reality. And so it made sense for us to release these last 25 apartments when the market was really on our side and people could be fully confident as to what's going to be rolled out in the neighborhood over the next couple of years.
Okay. And then, I mean, I think if you look at the stats for Cape Town as a whole in 2024, there was 36.2 billion in transfers, which again just reiterates the volume of sales happening in the area at an average value per sale of 3 million. But then it's quite interesting. I mean, Gardens as a suburb, it's only 5,369 adults. But in the last 12 months, did 1 billion in transfers, which for a small area is very, very significant. At an average price of 3.9 million, which is 28% higher than the average for the suburb, which is it just shows the demand. I think, and you said it from the word go, in terms of you've got the location, you've got the amenities, you've got the views either way. But then there's a Rudderheck Street component, which you've been talking about and been so excited. I think we're all starting to see this vision come together. What makes that so special?
So, there's very few streets that one can take a real full view on without any kind of like external public funding that a bunch of private developers can buy enough of to fully transform. And Rudderheck is one of those streets. So commercially, it's actually viable and sustainable to turn it around because of its size. It's really just 4 city blocks, and those are quite small city blocks. The area has previously been an industrial of industrial usage, for the most part, but is zoned to have full mixed use and to have probably on average 6 times the amount of bulk that it currently has. So it's the most amazing kind of blank canvas. And Ruderheck Street itself, as the spine of this area, is very narrow and very contained on the west and east. So on the west side, it's contained by Dunkley Square. On the east side, it's contained by Wembley Square. So you kind of can't go past that. It almost creates this this outdoor piazza type environments, but at a street level, almost like a linear park over time is what it might feel like. And so that very intimate nature has started to draw artisanal type operators. So, you know, we've got Sam Lambson on the call as an example of that. There's some really interesting tenants coming into the area. So he's got his urban winery. We've got the Flower Market, which is a 500 square meter bakery by David Dondy from Truth that's also opened. We've even got some original tenants like the Dog's Bollocks, which is considered the best pizza and burgers in Cape Town. And then we've got Chips co-work space on the other side, closer to Wembley Square, where they've also bought the building next door to do additional serviced office spaces. So there's development action happening on both sides of the street. But I think it's really the retail and the artisanal offering at a street level, which will also happen on the bottom of BlackBrick Gardens. I think it's that element that's going to make it truly urban and walkable. And that's the most exciting part for me.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, Sam, I mean, I assume those are similar features that attracted you guys to the road in the area.
Steph, I think Ruderheck was a natural move for us as a business. We definitely didn't land here on our first try, and it absolutely was third time lucky. We previously looked at 2 different premises in Woodstock, which both of the deals fell through for various reasons. And I really relate a lot to what Jonathan was saying in terms of having this contained, book-ended street where the potential for upliftment and gentrification actually seems like a reality. Whereas I think that, you know, if you're in an area that isn't quite as contained and is so much more vast, the amount of capital and the challenge of turning that area around is so much more significant. So to us, in terms of the location, I think we really hit the nail on the head, and are really grateful for where the cards fell in our case. And it's been amazing to see over the last 12 months the transformation that has happened in such a short space of time. And I as one of the tenants committed to a piece of land for a very long time, have definitely put my money where my mouth is, and I'm really looking forward to seeing where we can go to in the area.
Yeah. And then there's a lot of talk about Ruderheck being Cape Town's best kept secret and the future home of Cape Town's creatives. I mean, do you agree with that?
Absolutely. I think, you know, in answering that question, I think you have to think about what does a perfect day in Cape Town look like. And to me, you know, you wake up in the morning, start with a coffee and the croissant from Flower Market, and you're not going to find a better croissant in any part of the place. When you're inspired by your caffeine rush, you jump into a book and go and sit under a tree down in the company gardens. And then maybe at the end of the day, you pop on down to the Dog's Bollocks for a beer. Things get a little bit out of hand with your mates, and you have a glass of wine and a charcuterie board at us. And, you know, then you roll on into bed and wake up with the most amazing view of Lion's Head and Table Mountain in the background. So I think, you know, the amount... It's actually really exciting already just to see the amount of collaboration that is happening with the tenants in the area. I think we're all on a very, very similar, all share a very similar creative vision, and already some of the events and collaboration that has come of that is quite remarkable and quite exciting. So I firmly feel it's the new street on the block in Cape Town, and hopefully we don't have to keep it a secret anymore.
I don't think it will be for long. But I think that's the thing. I mean, like it's obviously we're talking about a very strong investor product. We're talking about the yields people are going to get from the part hotel type concept. But it's exactly like you're saying, looking at through the eyes of the people who are going to drive the occupancies to drive the returns, and what are they going to be getting? And yeah, it's a very, very compelling proposition. Andrew, it's going to bring you in terms of architecture. I mean, I know Jonathan is referred to as a genius on many occasions, but I guess it's always a challenge of trying to keep the original character of the building and trying to bring a modern edge that does justice to the area and the road and the city. I mean, was it quite a challenge?
Well, I don't know if it's any more of a challenge than anything else. It's more about recognizing the opportunity. Like, what could this be? And we are always looking to like radically innovate. Our kind of radically innovate means giving people a platform to live their most inspired lives. And when you start off with a very blank canvas like this, because it was an existing factory, so big open floors with all painted white columns and quite beautifully shaped industrial beams, concrete beams from that period, is very unique. I haven't seen too much like that particularly. And the floors are all glass all around, well, were all glass all around, industrial glazing, very deep floor plates. And you need to add another, double the number of floors on top, because you need to make it work for everybody who's interested in it from a financial point of view. So you need to act in that environment to maximize the potential of what exists and be inspired not by some idea you've seen somewhere else. We're not really interested in cut and paste at all. We're interested in being inspired by what's actually there and looking at it and identifying what its attributes are. It's the most beautiful parts of what it is that might be invisible if you look at it just like, well, it's a factory. Well, it was a haberdashery hat making factory, quite amazing, and a jewels making factory, like jewelry making factory at another time. And understand the potential of its location, as others have already spoken about, Jonathan and Sam, and see what its next version of itself can be. That's our way of seeing this incredible challenge. And then we try in what we do. Well, it's kind of more embedded than try. We almost like can't do it another way anymore than this, which is not to start with what apart hotels look like in the world, not to start with how apartments are designed in the world, not to start with how hotels look in the world, not to see where Airbnb has gone in the world, just what is the potential of this thing here. And so it was an incredibly inspiring process. And when you're working with people like Jonathan and Moritz, who are people that want to create the future, and are not trying to like run the successes of the past. I think it's called beating a dead horse or something, like not to run the successes of the past into the ground, but to construct the future. It's a very nice experience. And I think everyone involved in this is going to benefit from that. It's going to enjoy that.
Yeah. And then, I mean, Andrew, you spoke about the deep floor plates. Jonathan referred to the strippy and the double stacking of the units. So yeah. What does that look like? I mean, because obviously they're quite unique features to the units.
Yeah, I mean, when you've been at this for a while, you kind of you see these main things the moment you walk in there. Like, how do you make apartments in very deep, previously industrial spaces? For industrial use, that's the best thing you can have, is like very deep space. You can move machines around and people and all that. But for apartments, what you're going to, when you get a certain depth in from the facade, where you're going to get light from? Like, what are you going to, when you've gone a certain depth in, what are you going to do with the remainder of the space before the next apartment begins? So the first action, or the first thing we recognize, is the potential to excavate out of the building from the sky to the ground an amazing courtyard. So it's amazing that you can remove building square meters, not to diminish value, but to add value, like removal to add value. So that was the first thing that we did. And then you can have light coming from the sky. You can connect to the sky from inside of the building. And because of the existing structure, there's columns and beams that cross at every level, like a grid, like a web, up inside this volume. That will be a green hanging garden down the middle of the space, flooded with skylight. And when you're in the restaurant cafe at the bottom, that's going to be your defining experiences, connecting to the sky. So that's how we got light into the core of the building. And then that gives the opportunity of opening every apartment from around that courtyard from to the outside. And you can see on the image there, that we removed the industrial glazing and we made circulation, how you access the apartments from the outside in some places, and in others, it's the achterstoep, like your back garden. You open onto a zone, a stoep, between where the existing building facade is and the new building facade is, one layer in. So we've basically, it's like an art installation. We've installed new row houses into the fabric of this existing building so that all apartments get light and ventilation and privacy from both sides. There's no corridors with your like electronic swipe car, like if you're in the Hampton Inn or something, and then you open your door off this anonymous passage. You're coming off a shared garden piazza at every level. Very special and unique.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, and I think if to illustrate, I mean, if anyone's looking at the screen now, I mean, I think you look at over Andrew's head, you're looking at the Achterstoep you spoke about. I'm looking back towards the harbour, and then if you're looking at over Sam's shoulder, you're looking at Table Mount and out onto the more traditional balcony. So I think, yeah, I think you guys have done an amazing job. So AP, I'm going to bring you in. I mean, obviously, like we said, next Wednesday, 1 o'clock. 25 units online, one go. Nobody can purchase beforehand. Everything done online. What's the interest been like?
Steph, it's been phenomenal so far. I think, I mean, just to bring in the final or the balance of the stock, I mean, exclusive release, it's held back by Jonathan and the rest of the development team, like really good units. We've had probably over 1,500 inquiries with almost 900 guys signing up to our property marketplace, interested in looking at the details of each available opportunity, checking out the different specs and the visuals and the views and the indicative views of each unit. And then obviously trying to make sure they're capitalizing on the specific unit that they want and making sure they've got all the right information so that come 1 p.m. on the 5th of Feb, they have the ability to log in at 1 p.m. and secure their unit with their 20,000 Rand reservation fee. And I think what's critical with this is that on launch day, we are having a launch day offer, which is 50,000 Rand discount on your purchase price for that 1 day only. So it does create a little bit of an incentive for those investors looking to secure immediately. And I guess with the limited availability of stock, only 25 available, I think that's going to really drive the demand and sort of bottleneck people wanting to get the best of the balance of the units or the part hotels available at BlackBrick Gardens.
Okay. And then just elaborate on the different unit options available come launch day, the price, and then separately in terms of the kind of returns guys can expect on those units.
Yeah, so I mean, like 25, the balance is made up of predominantly one bed. So we've got about 23 one beds available and two beds available. The two beds, or the two beds, are starting at 2.89 million. That's the launch day price, that's inclusive of furnishings. So that is your launch day price with your 50 grand discount. And then your one beds are you're looking at between 1.94 million and about 2.64 million, and those range between 35 and 45 squares. I think, from a yield perspective, for context, I think Jonathan's brought it in quite nicely. Sam's also really elevated the experience that Ridderhex, is going to bring. But I think, because we believe this is a proper investor market, it's an investor product. The people coming in and the smart investors are going to not necessarily look at the product offering and the success and the credibility of the developer, but definitely about what's happening on the ground. And I think Ridderheck is a great example of a thriving artisanal community where there's a culture there and a hub of activity and life, that's happening now, but obviously has a massive growth potential over the coming years, especially with the key sort of development infrastructure that's taking place, the investment that's happening at the moment. Like over 1 billion has already been put in by private developers for the transformation and the rejuvenation of the area. And I think some of the elements, like Sam put it out nicely, in a day in the life of someone living in or staying in Ridderheck, and Jonathan talking about some of the key areas like the flower market, the dog's bollocks, even further up the drag, 12 Bulls, which is, it's all of these things are bringing in this culture, this coffee culture, this nightlife experience, this market experience, this active outdoor lifestyle with your proximity to the mountain and Lion's Head and the beaches just down the street. And I think from an investor perspective, you're looking at all of those things over and above just the financial aspects of it. And I think, with the demand that this location in this area and the space is going to be creating, I think from a returns perspective, the guys are going to be pretty happy with their success. And I think, we've calculated based on the specific returns, and you're looking at about 8.5%, 8.6% net yields across average across both the two and the one beds, and just taking into consideration that BlackBrick's average is from an occupancy is about 75%. And that's relative, and that's actual information and data based on their current active products that are operating at the moment. And if you take a step back and look at what the average is within Cape Town from a short stay perspective, it's 71%. So you can see there's a definite demand for the brand and the equity that BlackBrick does bring into an area.
Yeah, no, that's great. And I mean, if you had to talk monetary terms in terms of rental income that we expect for a typical one bed and typical two bed.
So your typical one bed, like the average monthly rental, you're probably going to be looking at, between, well, I suppose from a gross perspective, you're looking at about an average of 20 grand a month. Net, less the costs and then obviously less there's a management fee that comes on it, so it's probably between 15 and 17.5 grand a month, which is going to give you that net yield of between 8.1 and 8.7%, which is, again, from an investment perspective, when you're starting off in the higher sort of realm of 8-9%, it really whets the appetite for those guys looking to get a kickstart into their property career, but also those guys who are just growing their portfolios through specific investments and key developments and key nodes and regions and growth areas where they know that the demand is going to generate the revenue.
Okay. Yeah, and I think, I think for anyone who follows property, to get sort of 8% net yields in the high end of the market, it is very, very significant. You're probably going to see these assets being cash flow positive from sort of year 4 or 5, depending on the different unit type, which means that you've got an asset that's washing its face, but also achieving the capital appreciation that goes with the location and the amenities and everything else that goes with it.
Yeah,
So,
exactly. Sorry. I mean, just on that, we're looking at exactly that from about year 4, year 5 is when that cash flow positivity is going to hit the guys. And I think also just from an appreciation perspective, a capital appreciation, I think any area where there's rejuvenation and there's growth and there's transformation led by private investment and community-driven, product offering and businesses and all of that kind of stuff, that we mustn't sort of forego the capital appreciation that can be achieved, especially where you're looking if with this 50 grand discount, from 1 p.m. once you've secured to 12 minutes or 1 minute past 12 on the following day, you're already going to increase by 3% in terms of that appreciation with that 50 grand discount.
Yeah. So lots of questions coming through, and grateful for those, because it gives us an opportunity to answer anything that you guys want to know and give everyone the best opportunity to purchase on launch day. Jonathan, I'm gonna push quite a few of these to you. I think a lot of it starts off around the part hotel model. Janet's asking what makes the BlackBrick model different to any other part hotel model. But then there are also quite a few questions around, can I still get a return on my unit if it's not being rented out? Can I use Airbnb? Maybe just to sort of, if you can collectively try and answer some of those, just to get guys an understanding of how the BlackBrick model applies to an apart hotel product.
Stefan, I think since BlackBrick launched in 2018, there's been a lot of apart hotel concepts come into the market, especially in the Cape. I think that one of the biggest differences is that those are once-off buildings, whereas we are developing a global network of apartment hotels that enable our guests and members to live and work freely between cities. So I think there's a bigger kind of ecosystem approach that we're looking at. And even without us developing at a global scale, even with the South African network, which we've pretty much secured, when we open the Gardens building, we already start on day 1 with thousands of customers, of guests that have stayed at our other buildings. So I think in that way, we've got a network approach versus the standalone approach. And of course, there's also all especially on this one and all future ones that we've done with system architecture, there is the unique design and what that means for the guest or user experience, and how that will translate into what we think will be stronger demand than what you would see in a normal kind of stock standard apart hotel model. In terms of Airbnb, people aren't able to buy and do their own Airbnbs in this building. All the units have to be given back to BlackBrick to operate within our tried and tested model. And the idea behind that is that there is one consistent user experience through the building. These other buildings where there are multiple Airbnb type operators, I think it can create some operational challenges, which our model avoids.
And I think just to add to that, I mean, there's so many studies done at the moment in terms of the ability to do sort of Airbnb ad hoc within a building versus it being managed centrally, and the individual operations maybe work well for those trying to make money off Airbnb management, but the RevPAR, without a shadow of a doubt, is high when it's managed centrally. There's no competition on images, consistency of imagery, no people trying to undercut it, and generally a higher average room rate and also a higher occupancy, which combines RevPAR. So although people are paying management fee directly to one entity, the returns are far more significant and much
I think I think in the short term, the returns can be similar when both the centralized management company like ourselves or the individual manager are largely relying on the online travel agencies, whether it be Booking.com or Airbnb. But when you take more of a mid to long-term view and you start to understand the complexity of a real hotel revenue stack, which is largely a reliance on strong revenue management, we have to have like employed revenue managers to dynamically price your product on a daily basis. We've hired a team for that. And then, we've just introduced a B2B sales division. So we've hired a bunch of staff looking after that division for us from last year, November, in an attempt to really start to attract the corporate market, the big travel agencies, film production companies, governments, all those big organizations that are based right around this BlackBrick Gardens. We've got a sales team that's going to be going out and calling on those people pre our opening, so that by the time we open, which we expect to be around mid 2025, we'll already have big groups waiting to come and stay with us.
Okay. So, and I think just one query for Anonymous. I think you've pretty much touched on it, and just a question of, if I book my unit once it's if no one books my unit once it's in the rental pool, can I still get returns on it? Can you maybe just explain how that holistically works?
So just to clarify, it's not a rental pool. So each unit's revenue is individually calculated, and the owner gets paid out based on the specific revenue. And so unlike a residential investment, which is kind of binary, right? Either you've got a tenant or you don't. So when you don't have a tenant, you've got zero income coming in. In our model, you will always have income, because we're always going to be, even in the middle of winter, you're always going to be at what we project at like a minimum kind of like 55-60% occupancy. So there's always rental income coming in. Just depends how much, depending on the seasonality, especially in the Cape Town market. But yeah, there'll never be a month of zero.
Cool, got it. Makes a lot of sense. I'm just going to go through systematically. AP, anyone want to jump in? But pretty good. But default's going to be Jonathan here. When will the units be available? That's Michael's question.
So available in terms of being able to stay there.
Well, correct. Ready for effectively taking occupational transfer as a purchaser.
We're expecting occupation on 1 July. So that would be, and in this sense, occupation and final completion are very similar. So we'll be furnishing them in parallel to that process. But yeah, we'll probably open the doors somewhere between July and August. We might find that the rooftop event space, for example, which we're putting together a really exciting idea together with Sam and his team, that might open slightly later, but the lower floors of the apartments should be ready from July.
Okay, cool, perfect. AP from Corin Sunny, is the 1-day discount of 50K available in all the units, and how long does it apply for?
Yeah, so each and every unit, or all 25 units, will have that discount automatically applied from 1 p.m. on the 5th, which is next Wednesday. And keen investors will literally have up until 11:59 on Wednesday evening to take advantage of that discount. And then beyond that, come Thursday, all prices will go to the standard sort of purchase price, which essentially will be 50 grand more than the launch price that we will be releasing these opportunities on launch day.
Okay, no thanks. And then
fastest finger first. This is what's critical for that, to take advantage of that.
Okay, got it. Yeah, I'm going to ask you to just pull up that marketplace and just show you guys the general how to search for units, but obviously not being able to go through the purchasing process yet. Jonathan, AP, either or. A question from Temi in terms of off-plan payment plans and what that will look like, if any. I mean, we know that there probably won't be payment plans. You've got to pay a deposit, secure your purchase price, but maybe just to outline what the process would be for someone who's purchasing a unit now, between now and effectively taking transfer in July as such.
Yeah, I mean, I can jump on this, JL, but I mean, so it's we're talking about these unique and bespoke aspects that BlackBrick has to offer, but the purchase process is quite a traditional model. So if you are interested in securing and reserving, you'll need to purchase online. You'll only be able to secure or reserve your unit online via the property marketplace. And I think the team will obviously, put the link and everything, and I'll go through the exact process and how you secure that. But come launch day, reserve your unit with 20,000 Rand. What that means is it takes it off the market. You'll then receive an agreement of sale, which you will then need to complete and submit back to the sales team, and we've got a dedicated sales team for gardens, Alessio Conti and Cam Heel, who are available 24/7. They'll be able to facilitate any questions or answer anything you might have around the investment opportunities. If you are going to finance your purchase, i.e. you're going to get a mortgage, or you're going to go to your bank, or go to one of our dedicated mortgage originator, which is Uber, you will then need to secure finance through that model. I mean, whatever your credit rating is and your affordability, you'll be able to get a percentage of that loan to value. And that will be required, and I think it's about 30 to 35 days once you've signed your agreement. So you'll have a period of time in order for you to secure your finance. If you're going the cash or the guarantee route, you'll need to pay your 20 grand to reserve your unit, and then you will need to pay a further 30% balance of the total purchase price, and that will basically secure it for you up until transfer. And the same with the guarantee. And what's critical to note here is, if you are going the financial route or mortgage route, is you don't have to start servicing your bond. You don't need to be starting to pay or do your monthly payments until you do take transfer of your apart hotel, which, as Jonathan was saying, will be sometime in about July, August. So you've got a grace period now of securing your unit, seeing it appreciate over the course of the next 6 to 7 months, and then only having to start servicing your bond once you take transfer.
Okay, great, thanks. And I hope that answers quite a few questions. Quite a few questions around occupancy, so the date for purchase, etc., etc. So I hope those will be covered. And then Jonathan, AP, again, there's some really good questions coming through here, and really appreciate them. So there's one from Joshua Olale, who's a US citizen, just asking the process of securing as a international purchaser. Do we have an affiliation with local banks in terms of arranging finance? And just, I mean, I think just to say now, Joshua, what our team will do is, there's obviously quite a lot of questions you've got here. We'll actually respond to you directly offline in terms of any questions that we don't cover here now. But I mean, I think just rule of thumb, overseas purchaser, they can finance a limited loan to value here, Jonathan.
Yeah, we've had quite a high percentage of international buyers, specifically at BlackBrick Gardens. Typically, the rule is that a foreign buyer can get up to a 50% mortgage. So they would need 50% in cash. But to secure it on launch day is the same. So it's the same 20,000 Rand. And then, again, our mortgage brokers, Uber, have the necessary skills and know-how to connect international buyers into all of the major banks.
Yeah, 100%. And then another question is, are there additional fees for foreign investors purchasing an apart hotel unit? And and any additional deductions off their rental income?
Not that I know of. Obviously, every country has its own kind of regulations, but there's none that I know of. I think they would have to get their own advice in terms of income tax. But that would happen in their home countries. But I don't think there's any special deduction.
Yeah, 100%. And the same applies to no restrictions on selling as a foreign investor.
No
restrictions.
No restrictions.
Yeah, exactly. So and I think exactly as you said, in terms of the tax applies to individuals, that will obviously be specific to your area of domicile. But I think some really good questions, and I think our team will definitely go back to you directly. And Joshua, and just respond on all those different items. But we've seen a huge amount of international interest so far, so you certainly won't be the only one purchasing remotely. Julia has asked about parking, Jonathan.
So the apartments don't come with parking, but there are 27 parking bays available, and they are 195,000 Rand each. The hotel operation then leases back those apartments from you at an 8% net yield. So it's a nice investment. I think you're never going to go wrong with parking in the Cape Town City Bowl and the Gardens area. We don't need too many parkings in this development from a practical point of view, because what we found with our other BlackBrick developments is that most of our guests actually use some kind of ride-hailing app like Uber, and we've also introduced a shuttle service into our hotels. So you've got that option if you've got a bit of a bigger budget and you want something more luxury to take you to the beach and or up to the mountain.
Okay. Anonymous has asked about rates and levies and which of those would be deducted, if any, from the management fees.
So I'm just going to do averages here across the 25. Your average rate is about 1,000 Rand, and your average levies is going to be about 1,800 Rand per month. So those would be over and above the management fees. So if you're trying to work out a net calculation, you'd remove your costs, which would be that rates and levies, and then less the 15%, which would be the management fee. And I think just to elaborate on what Jonathan had already said earlier, I mean, taking into the consideration the time and effort that it goes into managing, marketing, security, cleaning, servicing, all of those elements. And if you combine that into your personal time and commitment to try and manage that on your own, having a solution that's got the experience from a national perspective and taking global best practice becomes a bit of a no-brainer when it comes to investing in apart hotel opportunities where you've got a dedicated hospitality service solution like BlackBrick Hotels.
Okay, got it. Thanks. Jonathan, a few questions just with regards to the future developments that are planned for BlackBrick within Cape Town or the Western Cape.
So we think that we would probably land up in the next, say, like 5 or 6 years with another 5 locations in Cape Town. So we, as you know, we're busy with our 6th one in Umhlanga, but for our 7th one, we're probably thinking that Pretoria makes sense, so that we've got a 4th city. There's a lot of action around the capital there. But then we're going to come back to Cape Town, and we're looking for new sites currently. Actually, we're looking for something in Sea Point. So a lot of our guests have said they'd love to see us in Sea Point. That's a bit of a no-brainer to have something on the Atlantic seaboard. And then we like something in the winelands. So Stellenbosch is interesting. And possibly in the more kind of urban parts of Stellenbosch would be ideal. And then I think something either in the Waterkant or Greenpoint, so something closer to the city, but not in the city, but on the other side, that can work for our model. And then for something different, maybe we were thinking Muizenberg. So a nice distributed network all around the Cape is what we hope to build over the next 5 years.
Okay, and Sam, I mean, do you guys see quite a lot of collaboration between yourselves and BlackBrick going forward?
Absolutely, Steph. I think that, you know, we have a very overlapping clientele, and it's really been amazing to, I mean, me and Jonathan met through walking around Rudahek, and I think that's just, you know, in terms of investors on the call, just an indication of how great a network opportunity this little suburb and part of Cape Town really is going to become. And yeah, for us, I think one of our wines is called Connect the Dots. And if I had to sum up that networking opportunity in Rudahek, I would say that there are lots of dots that have connected. And one of those dots is the fact that we're actually going to get the opportunity to stock all of the rooms in BlackBrick with our Connect the Dots wines. And get an opportunity to invite the BlackBrick guests down to us for a wine tasting, just a hop, skip, and a jump away. And yeah, the collaboration definitely doesn't end there. If you go just a little bit up onto that beautiful rooftop behind your head, Steph, we're actually going to launch an urban wedding concept, which is something I am super excited for. Taking advantage of all of the beautiful work that Andrew and the design team have done exposing those beautiful trusses. And the goal is basically to have a barrel float from the ground and all the way up to the rooftop on a beautiful mechanical hoist, and to be basically the center point of an urban wedding that we'll host with pretty much the best view that I think you can have, or certainly one of the best views that you can have of Cape Town. And as part of the ceremony, we'll actually drill into that barrel, serve the wine directly from that barrel for the ceremony, and then bottle the balance of that barrel for the lucky couple that gets the opportunity to do that. So I've never seen anything done like that anywhere else, and I think this is sort of what the dot connecting of Rudahek has resulted in with getting a chance to meet Jonathan. So we're really excited.
No, it's really cool. You guys are doing some amazing stuff, and I mean, I think that's just a epitomizes of the road. Hey, everyone trying to push boundaries and do unconventional stuff.
Absolutely, and I think it also just sort of speaks to, I think, what is happening in the Western Cape, and bringing one of our biggest income drivers and threading that through the newest streets on the block is really quite significant in terms of representing our Western Cape story as well.
Yeah. Okay. AP, I mean, before we close, can I just ask you to pull up that the marketplace and just give guys a feel for how to navigate? I mean, Andrew Makin, I mean, we always say that the architect has the best feel for units. Jonathan, if there's any cheat sheets you can recommend to people in terms of what to look out for. I mean, we do recommend that people have 2 or 3 choices come launch day if you don't have the fastest fingers out there, and just to sort of get a suss for what guys should be looking out for.
Jonathan, you can say.
Yeah, so I mean, in terms of like my favorite apartments that are left, for me, I must say, I think that 517 is super interesting. All the 17 units are the only ones that have got Lion's Head and Table Mountain, from both of those views, which I've only been living in Cape Town for 3 years. So I'm still absolutely obsessed with. There it is. I'm obsessed with these 2 landmarks. So yeah, especially the Lion's Head. There's a lot of apartments that have at BlackBrick Gardens that have the view of Table Mountain, but this Lion's Head view is super unique, and it's on the 5th floor, which is the second from the top. It's also got an outdoor balcony that is unique to this 17 unit type. That white balustrade there is outdoor, whereas all the other terraces and stoops are undercover. This is actually an outdoor balcony. So yeah, this would be my favorite. And then yeah, it just depends. It depends on what you think is going to be more popular. Are people looking for the city view? We've got a very unique city view from the building, because remember, most urban apartment buildings or hotels in Cape Town CBD are like really immersed inside the CBD, so you don't get that same perspective. So I think if you open this 512, you get a real city view like that still has some mountain. Most of our city views still get Signal Hill on the left, so you get a bit of both. And then if you want the classic Table Mountain, I think there's still maybe about 6 or 7 that we held back that are facing square on Table Mountain with uninterrupted views. So those would be my 3 picks.
Okay.
I can say something about this. The views outward are of course spectacular. It's Cape Town. Is there a more beautiful city in the world? One wonders. I don't think so. Having been to Rio and Sydney, maybe, and Vancouver, looking outwards is incredible. But looking inwards into this green hanging garden, into the piazza, the shared spaces, the community, the feeling of being there, of belonging. I think that's really unique about this project. You can get views if you move around Cape Town while you are in Cape Town, you will see spectacular views. But if you come off the street and you enter into this building, I think people are going to be shocked by the unique, effervescent, glowing Cape Town light coming through the green and onto all of these white existing structures that animate this kind of core inside space. I don't think it's going to be able to be found anywhere else in Cape Town, maybe much broader than Cape Town. So while we talk about looking outwards from the individual apartments that investors buy, you don't just buy the apartment, you buy the view and you buy this really unique internal experience. I guess if you were talking about a temple or a mosque or a church, a cathedral, yes, people take their photographs outside, but when they are touched, when you feel moved, it's when you go into one of those kind of spaces. It's going to have that kind of quality to it.
Yeah, no, exactly. I mean, and that's I think you listen to architects, you get such a different appreciation for what's unique and what to look out for. I mean, AP, anything from your side in terms of the process in the day and how to navigate?
Yeah, I think, I mean, I'm just going to go through it pretty quickly, as I know we're coming to the end of our session here. But I mean, it's a straightforward process. If you get onto BlackBrick Gardens or bb-gardens.coza, you navigate yourself to the purchase page. For those of you who've only inquired and haven't signed up, you will be asked to create an account. You basically create a profile. It'll ask for your name and your details. You need to submit a secure password. And then you'll be able to view all the opportunities available here. You have the ability to filter through these filtering tools at the top here. So if you are looking for a specific price range, you have the ability to do that. If you are looking for a unit on a specific floor, you can do that. Obviously, we only have two purchase opportunities available, which are your 1 or your 2 beds. As this is the final 25, you have the ability to see all of the opportunities available, but for next Wednesday's purpose, these available units are the ones that you'll be able to secure. You'll see that once you've clicked on a specific unit, I'm just going to use, let's see, 314 here as an example. You'd be able to get a good understanding of the indicative view of that particular unit, and being able to see the unit plan and the layout and also its location within the specific floor plate on the floor. You'll be able to see estimated indicative financials on the right over here, the schedule of areas in terms of the sizing. And then I guess one of the key things for next Wednesday is that because you'll only be able to secure and purchase online, you'll need to be ready and available with this website open or your browser open, and refreshing it come 1 p.m. That's pretty critical because as you can see right now, to reserve, you're unable to click through and go through to the payment process. But come 1 p.m. on Wednesday, the 5th of Feb, you'll need to refresh your browser in order to click reserve. That will take you into a payment gateway. So it's a secure South African payment gateway called iKhokha, which we use and partnered with. You'll then be able to service the 20,000 Rand deposit through either credit card payments. Once that's done, or once you've clicked reserve, you'll have 10 minutes to actually do that payment process. So make sure you've got the available funds in whatever card you're going to be using, as well as having your card details available so you can put it in. And it's a typical e-commerce type solution. We've done this so that any investor has the ability to reserve and purchase property online from the comfort of wherever they are, be it in the office, be it at home on your couch, or be it, as Sam was saying, sitting under a tree in the gardens, next to Rudderhick Street. There's also there is a detailed video of how to purchase online, which you can also visibly watch on the website. And I think it will be shared with all the leads closer to the launch day next week.
Perfect. Thanks, AP. Yeah, and I think to anyone who's purchasing next week, like Andrew says, there'll be a countdown, there'll be a series of mailers, there'll be information, there'll be tutorial. So everything will be shared to you. So don't stress if you missed anything. But if you want to recap, there will be a recording sent to everyone tomorrow. Will you be able to go through? You can forward that on to friends or families or shareholders, investors, everyone else that needs information. But yeah, I think AP, Andrew, Jonathan, Sam, thanks, gents. Thanks very much for your time. Thanks to all of you who've joined this evening. It's been a really good turnout, some awesome questions. And yeah, I really hope that we've given you another step in the journey to be able to purchase next Wednesday and just answer as much as you need. And yeah, we'll see you guys next Wednesday at 1. Fastest fingers first, and like we said, please just have a couple of choices available. So if your unit goes, you know exactly what you'll divert to, and then I look forward to having more of these chats. And yeah, very exciting times ahead. So thanks everyone, and hope you all have a great evening.
Thanks, Steph.
Thanks you. Thanks everyone.
Thanks guys. Cheers, man.
Bye, guys.
Cheers.